Happy Halloween, guys, and we could thank my brother for this creepy mask that even terrifies myself. Hey guys, how's it going, and thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money. If you like topics like this, and if I didn't scare you too much, don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I was contemplating doing the whole video with that mask on, but I feel like it would be too creepy, so you're welcome. I'm not going to be doing that. However, there's still a reason why you should still be afraid financially. Most people have no idea, but since you're weird and you're into this stuff, you know that you have to focus on important things, because it could affect your life drastically. Have you ever wondered why prices are so high? Have you ever wondered why things are becoming so expensive now? And did you ever question why there's so much month at the end of your money? Well, we're going to be going into specific examples. I created a whole Excel spreadsheet. I was very proud of myself, and we're going into actual numbers showing you why this is scary with inflation. Ooh, inflation. So no, it's not ghosts or demons controlling you from the inside, so we have to perform an exorcism on you to save your soul. We talked about that in last video. So you'll be seeing all the prices, or at least all the main things that you're buying today, how much they've increased over, I'm going back to the year 2000, and you could see how they've increased until now. And this really was interesting and blew my mind for a couple of different topics, or like subjects or things that we buy, and it's just crazy. And also, if you're still interested, to the end of the video we're going over why banks are continuously screwing us and how rate cuts could be affecting us pretty drastically. I want to touch on that because the Fed did just cut rates. So without any further ado, let's get started. So this is the spreadsheet that I came up with. We're going to be looking back to the year 2000, and you could see all the different things that we're going to be going over. But I want to really show you guys how, like, we're going to be going over housing or car prices or college tuition, which was like ridiculous. I think you should definitely stick around to that. But you could see how they increase every single year. Most of us don't realize that. Well, obviously we know that prices go up, but we kind of write it off. You know, inflation is a silent killer, you know, like, oh, whatever, that's always going to happen. And then it just silently eats away at our earnings and our income. So if you get like a raise of 2 or like 3%, this is going to show you that that raise is actually nothing. You're staying exactly the same. Your buying power isn't moving. And that's why it's a silent killer, and you should be completely terrified of it. So I created this mostly because I was bored. Not going to tell you where, but so I wanted to create this because the Fed is talking about the average inflation rate is 2%. Well, where are they getting that number from? I'm not going to assume that that number is correct. I want to know what these numbers actually look like. So I went into them. I tried to look around for the best possible answers and numbers. You know, if you could find more accurate ones, by all means. But this is what I got. So first I want to start on housing. I really wanted to focus on the main expenses that people just buy very frequently. So obviously the most main one that everyone should probably be aware of is housing. So starting in 2000, you could see the average was just over $200,000. Now, by the year 2019, it increased to $376,000. And you could see how I set it up. You could see the change per year. So it started off like 2.76% increase, 7% increase, almost 8% increase. And recently, from actually, 2018 to 2019, there was a slight decline. And at the bottom, you could see the averages. And I just want to lay out everything for right now. So the average, if you take the average of all the percentages, is 3.37%. with the total being 64%. This, for you investors, for all you people out there, this is a big thing that I definitely want to touch on, because not many people really go into this, and it could be drastic. So there's a difference between average return and actual return. So for a quick example, I always like to think of it this way. Let's say you get a 50% return one year and a negative 50% return the next year. That would even to 0%, right? You're breaking even. When you put a dollar amount to that, it's actually completely different. And this is what people don't realize. So you think, hey, there's an average return of 0%. If you start with $1,000, you're breaking even at $1,000, and that is not correct. At the first year, this is more numbers video, by the way, if you haven't realized it already. So hopefully, I want to keep it simple for you guys. But let's say we start with $1,000. 50% return is $500. So now your 1,000 is now 1,500. The next year drops by 50%. So now you have $750. Still a 0% average return, but the actual return, you actually have $750, which is not the 1,000. You have a negative 25%. That's the difference between average and actual. So that's because I'm a nerd and I think it's really important. Whether you think that or not, whatever. But so that's the difference between the average of the 3.37% and the actual is 4.16%. So, and that's taking the actual numbers. And that total return is 83%. So at the end of the day, if we're looking at housing, and this is going to be the longest one because I'm explaining everything. The other ones I kind of want to bang out. But basically, what we found out here is that housing increases around, since 2000 anyway, increases around 4% a year. And since 2000, the total increase, 83%. So we got housing. Can't have housing without property taxes, another large expense that people have. I got this from the Federal Reserve website. It's probably adjusted for inflation and all that stuff. Maybe not inflation, because that's what we're trying to find out. But they did a certain index. So this isn't showing you like, oh, 4%, $4 property tax. No, this is probably an index that they used. But we could still calculate the change. So you can see in 2000 it started at $485 and increased all the way up into 2018 of over $10. You can see the average return is 4.19% and the actual is 5.36%. At the end of the day, what we found out here with property taxes, it increases over 5% a year. And since 2000, it increased over 100%. It over doubled. Personally, I even double checked with my parents when they bought the house, like my house, versus now. So when they bought the house, it was in mid-90s, and it was around, what did she say, around, let's say, $3,300 for property taxes. I'm in New York, so it's probably much higher than some people, but $3,300. Now they're paying around $9,900. So it didn't only double, it tripled. You scared yet? Hopefully you're not watching this at night. Might have nightmares. But moving on to another form of shelter, if you don't have like a mortgage payment, what about rents? What did they do? Again, this is adjusted. I'm not saying like rents go for this. Depends where you are. But the Fed did adjust these to their index. We could still look at the rate of change. So starting off in 2000, it was around 184, 185. And 2019, it was just over $328. That average is around 3% a year, and the actual is 3.87%, totaling over 77% change. What we take from that, what happened with rent since 2000? And like you've been seeing, I'm looking at the actual return. The average is almost insignificant, unfortunately, because a lot of people look at average. I look at actual. So what this means, rent. It increased over 3.75% per year, and over 19 years increased over 77%. The next huge expense, which is probably like the second most expensive thing that people buy, is a car. Again, I want to focus on the main things people buy. A car is up there. So again, I'm not sure. I tried to find these numbers all over the place. It was difficult to find for whatever reason. This is the closest I could find, whether this is accurate or not. But this is again like an index from, I'm not sure if it was the Fed or something that was trying to find these numbers. But this is what I found. So it started, obviously, no car was worth $139 in 2000, but it increased to around $142. And you could see the increases per year average around like almost flat. So that's why I questioned this. It seems like over a 19-year period, it really didn't increase too much. You could kind of see it, but you know, it depends if you're buying like new cars every single year or used cars every single year. But I really can't doubt if like the price of a car, of like the newest car that you're going to buy, might be a similar price range. So like, let's say you're going to spend $10,000 now, and when you move up to the next car, you might get another car that might be $10,000. It's possible. I'm not sure how accurate. If you guys remember what you paid for your cars, definitely let me know. But it's just more statistics. Now these are a little bit more interesting that people might not think of, and we could see the huge increase for these next items. But next is grocery. This is huge because I wanted to know, like everyone says, food prices are going up and all that stuff. I wanted to find out what's going on. So you could see it started around 103, and right now is just over 200 average. Again, this is from the Federal Reserve website. They looked at their averages. So the average is around 3.5, and the actual is around 4.72, totaling over 90%. Meaning, going back to if you get a raise, because I know some people, they get, well, first of all, if you get no raise whatsoever, you're not making the same, because things increase in value. So if you're making the same, you're actually making less. You have less buying power. So if you get a raise of like 1%, 2%, 3%, you're barely keeping up with increasing prices. Just like these grocery numbers that we found out, the actual is just under 5%, and over 19 years it almost doubled. And we could definitely see that. And even during that time, the amount you're getting is also decreasing, so you're losing even more money. If you're looking to throw up, this is the time. We're going into college tuition. So I wanted to split this up because obviously we know college prices are going up like crazy. But I wanted to know how crazy. So I looked into in-state, out-of-state, and private college. They're all different. So let's get into it. So first we're going to look at in-state. In-state started around $3,500 and right now is just over $11,000. The average increase was 6%, and you can see the actual is around 10.5, totaling over 220%. If you're looking for numbers to throw up over, and seeing how crazy college is increasing their tuition, you could see it from these numbers. And this is only in-state. So in-state, over 10% per year, which is disgusting. Where could you get a 10% return per year average? Maybe the stock market, maybe, and over it's like tripled since 2000. Fun fact, whether you agree with me or not, the reason why tuition is increasing, just because I want to at least try to not acknowledge this and enlighten you, is because the government is backing college loans. So if colleges are going to get their money no matter what, they could charge whatever because the government is giving out loans for those tuitions. So that's why tuitions are increasing like crazy, because there's really no limit. They can increase it because they know they're getting their money, and I think that's disgusting. So that was in-state, now out of state. And by the way, if you guys are liking this, hit this video with a thumbs up. I just did this for myself, and then I was like, hey, other people might be interested. Maybe you're not, but if you do, it would definitely be appreciated. It took a few hours to do this, so hopefully you are enjoying this. Definitely let me know. But looking at out of state, if you want to throw up a little more, they started around 9,600, and right now at the bottom is now around 27,000. Average over 5%, actual over 8.5%, and the total is 180%. So interestingly enough, in-state is actually increasing faster than out of state, even though out of state is still more expensive than in-state. Just something to be aware of. And last but not least, well, no, there's a couple after this, but in the college section, the most expensive, private tuition. Let's throw up together, shall we? So they're starting at just over $16,000 in 2000, and now they're over $41,000. Average change or increase is over 4.5%. Actual is over 7%, and the total is over 150%. Again, interestingly enough, private school is actually increasing slower than in-state and out-of-state. However, it's already drastically more expensive than those other options as well. For me personally, if you want my input, go to in-state. Like, why? It's almost at that point where college is like not worth it because it's so expensive. People are just starting to talk about it. It's been a problem. We have two more categories to go over, and I do want to talk about some rate cuts because that's affecting you guys as well. So something that I was interested in, you know, people pay for housing, cars, college, food. Well, they also pay for entertainment. So I wanted to look up what the average like event tickets or sporting tickets increased. So let's look at that. I thought that was pretty interesting. So they started just over $100, and right now they're around $180. So the average is around 2.85, and actual is 3.5. So event tickets went up 70% in 19 years. And I think that's interesting to be aware of, because people love experiences, but also realize how much they're increasing as well. The last category we're going to touch on are clothes. How much are clothes increasing by? This was actually pretty interesting, and I want your input on this one. The average, it seemed to be around $129, and right now it seems to be around $124. So the average and actual are the same, just slightly negative change. And total is like -3 or -4%. Do you think this is true? What does that even mean? That means in 2000, clothes were the same, if not slightly more expensive than right now. And I could kind of see that. You know, you might have shoes for like $50, and, you know, they're kind of $50 for years. I don't really see them changing. Same thing with like a shirt. You might get a shirt for like, depends where you shop. If you're more frugal, you might find one for $5, $10. But maybe like a nice collared shirt or something like that, maybe $20. And I could see that remaining $20 for years. So if you guys are aware, if you shop a lot, I do not. If you have more experience with life, if you're older, double check me. Does that actually make sense? So those are all the different inflation rates and how much things have increased over a couple decades. And this is the average of what I actually determined from all the categories we just looked at. The average is around 3.32%, with actual being 4.8%. And over 19 or so years, almost doubled in price. So when the Fed is saying that things are increasing by like 2%, you know, and I only took like a handful of categories. They probably take a bunch more. But I feel like this is a good handle of like most things people buy. If you could think of other ones, please by all means create your own Excel sheet. But these are definitely main ones. Yes, I double counted college and other things like that, but I didn't account for like vacations. I didn't account for, I can't think of other things right now, but there are definitely other things. So it might even out. So when they're saying 2%, first of all, is that right? Could it be closer to 3%? And is that an average versus an actual? So that actual inflation rate, which is eating you alive because you're only getting a 2 to 3% raise, inflation could be like 4 or 5%, while the Fed is looking at a 2%. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really do. But we're noticing prices increasing like crazy. Like just recently, I think it's like Applebee's. You know, they used to have 2 for $20s, right? Not anymore. They have 2 for $22. I mentioned on one of my videos prior about this, but that's a $2 increase. $2, whatever. Whatever, I'll tell you whatever. A $2 increase on something that used to be $20 is 10%. Again, looking back at your raise, did you get a 10% raise? Probably not. So again, all these things are increasing when, you know, I heard salaries for jobs haven't been increasing for like 40 years. And that, my friends, is what's keeping you poor. And the rich get richer because they invest in things that are growing faster than inflation. So that's my investor side talking. You have to invest if you want to outpace inflation and stop being poor. Last real quick little tidbit. The Fed did cut rates again today. I mean, I'm recording today. You're probably watching this tomorrow for Halloween. But the Fed dropped interest rates. So now, what you're getting in your savings account with your Ally Bank, they're probably dropping. So, again, inflation is eating your savings now. If they go to 0, some people are even asking for negative interest rates. And if savings accounts actually go to there, you're almost being punished to save money because inflation is eating you alive. Last quick thing, just because we did mention college. Look at your interest rates if you have student loans. If you have variable, that means interest rates could jump up and down. And that's what your payments do. Rates are very, very low right now. So this would probably be a very good time to refinance from a variable rate to a fixed rate. So let's say, you know, this is all-time low interest rates. If for some reason interest rates pop, your payments don't like double or triple for whatever reason. Banks' repo rates, I'm going into a little bit detail right now. The repo rates between, like lending between banks, they jump from 2% to 10% overnight. If that happens with actual interest rates, if you have a variable rate loan, you're dead. Speaking of dead, if you guys could actually hear me through this, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I love to hear what you guys have to say. And again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a happy and safe Halloween.